He looked me in the eye, passed me the mashed potatoes, and said, "Of course the land is still yours. Don't worry about a thing." He lied. He lied with gravy on his breath and cranberry sauce on his shirt. And the worst part? He'd already sold it, months ago, without telling me, without telling anyone. The land my grandfather left me in his will, gone. I didn't find out until someone else tried to build a shed on it, a neighbor, a stranger. But before we get to that, let me take you back a few months back when I still trusted the man who raised me. Back when I believed that family meant something. My grandfather passed away 2 years ago. He wasn't a rich man, but he owned a piece of land out near the lake. Just a few acres, tucked behind a row of pines. It wasn't worth millions or anything, but it was his pride. He used to take me fishing out there when I was a kid. We'd sit for hours in folding chairs, talking about nothing, watching the water ripple. Before he died, he told me, "That land is yours. I put it in the will. Don't let anyone touch it unless it's you." I nodded, promised, and honestly didn't think much about it for a while. I had no reason to doubt. After the funeral, my dad handled all the legal stuff. He said everything was being processed, that some paperwork needed time. I was grieving, so I didn't push. Months passed. Every time I brought it up, he said, "We're still working on the title transfer. The lawyers are slow." I believed him. I mean, why wouldn't I? He's my dad. He wouldn't lie about something like that. Right? Then, one day in early November, I drove past the property. I wasn't planning to stop, just felt like seeing it. The trees were orange and gold, and for a second, I felt peaceful. Until I saw the truck, and the backhoe, and the sign that said, "Future Home of Blue Ridge Storage Units." My stomach dropped. I pulled over so fast I almost hit the ditch. Walked right onto the lot like I owned it because I thought I did. A guy in a neon vest walked up to me. "Can I help you?" he said. I said, "Yeah, this is private property." He laughed. "Not anymore. We closed on it 3 months ago. Belongs to a guy named Rick something." My father's name is Rick. I didn't say anything. I just turned around, got in my car, and drove. My hands were shaking on the wheel. My head was spinning. There had to be a mistake. There had to be some explanation. Maybe he sold it temporarily? Maybe it was some kind of lease? I didn't want to believe what I already knew was true, so I waited. Waited until Thanksgiving, when I'd see him face to face. When I could ask him in front of everyone and watch his reaction. I didn't tell anyone. Not even my mom. Not my siblings. I walked into Thanksgiving dinner that year with a fake smile and 1,000 questions. And I waited. Waited until he was relaxed. Until he had wine in his glass and a plate full of food. Then I asked casually, "Hey, Dad, what's going on with Grandpa's land?" He didn't flinch. Not even a blink. "Still yours," he said. "No one's touched it. We're just waiting on the last of the paperwork." My hands clenched under the table. I said, "You sure? Because I saw a construction crew out there." He kept chewing. Didn't miss a beat. "Oh, that's probably the neighbors. They're always up to something." That's when I realized. He wasn't even nervous. He'd rehearsed this. He'd been lying for months. And now, surrounded by family, he felt safe. Like I wouldn't dare call him out. Not here. Not today. And for a moment, I didn't. I smiled. I passed the bread. And I made a decision. After dinner, I sat in my old bedroom pretending to scroll my phone, but really I was playing every second of that conversation in my head, the way he looked so calm, so convincing. Like he actually believed the lie he just told. That was the part that got to me. Not that he lied, but how natural it was. Like he'd done it before. Like I was supposed to just nod and say, "Okay, Dad, thanks," and move on. But I didn't. I waited until everyone was distracted with dessert and dishes, then walked into his office. The door was cracked, just like when I was a kid sneaking in to borrow paper or find my iPod charger. Nothing had changed. Same leather chair, same ugly blue carpet, same wooden file cabinet with the squeaky bottom drawer. I went straight for it. The drawer was unlocked. Maybe he never thought anyone would go looking. Or maybe he didn't care. Inside were folders, labeled in his messy handwriting. One said, "Grandpa's estate." My throat tightened. I opened it. At first, just the death certificate, a few emails with the lawyer. Then I saw it. A signed deed transfer. My grandfather's land sold to Blue Ridge Storage LLC, dated 3 months ago, initialed by my father. A note stapled to it. Buyer requests discretion due to residential area protest. I stared at that one line for a full minute. Discretion. So he knew. He knew he was doing something shady. And not just to the company, but to me. Because if he had told me, if he had even asked, I wouldn't have agreed. That land wasn't just property. It was legacy. It was memory. It was the one thing in my life that felt solid. And now it belonged to strangers who were going to pave over it and rent it out for $99 a month. I took a picture of the paperwork, folded it quietly, and then walked out like nothing happened. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed replaying our Thanksgiving dinner, the toasts, the jokes, the football game on mute in the background, and realized just how much pretending my family was capable of. I started thinking about other things, small things. Times I'd been promised help with school but told to figure it out when tuition was due. Times my sister got bailed out of a credit card mess, but I was told to build character. The more I thought about it, the more I realized this wasn't new. This was just the first time he got caught in something that could be proven, tangible, documented. Stealing an inheritance isn't just a mistake, it's a choice, and he made it behind my back. The next day, I went home. I didn't say goodbye. My mom texted me later asking if I got back safe. I said yes, nothing else. 2 weeks passed. I didn't bring it up. Not yet. I needed to be sure I could do something about it. I talked to a friend who studied law, showed her the deed photo. She said I had a case. Especially if the land was specifically left to you in the will, she said. It was. I still had the original will in my email. My grandfather had sent it before he passed. Just in case, he wrote. My hands were shaking as I pulled it up, but there it was, clear as day. I leave the lakeside property located at, followed by my full name. I remember crying when I first read that. I remember feeling chosen, like even if I wasn't the favorite child, I was his favorite person, and now I had proof that my father sold something that was never his to sell. The question was, what was I going to do with it? I spent the next few days walking around with a storm in my chest. I went to work. I smiled at customers. I said no worries and have a good one, like I wasn't quietly unraveling inside. But I had made up my mind. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to make a scene. I was going to give him a chance. One, to tell the truth. So I invited him to coffee. Just me and him. No mom. No distractions. I picked a quiet little place downtown. He showed up in a baseball cap and his old denim jacket, acting like nothing had happened. Good to see you, he said. I nodded. Ordered black coffee. Then I pulled out a folder. I laid it on the table and said calmly, You want to open that? He frowned, then flipped it open. Inside was a copy of the deed he signed. The buyer info, the date, a printout of Grandpa's will with my name clearly listed, and a photo of the construction site. I watched his eyes flick over each page. His mouth opened, then closed. Then he looked up at me and said, It's not what you think. That was the moment I felt it. Not rage, not even sadness, just disappointment. I said, Then tell me, what is it? He hesitated, then started talking fast, like he was trying to outrun what he'd done. We were falling behind on the house payments. Your mom didn't know. I thought I could fix it without dragging everyone into it. I figured you weren't using the land. It was just sitting there. I needed quick money. I planned to tell you. He trailed off. Just hoped I wouldn't find out? I asked. He looked away. I was going to buy it back someday, once things got better. I almost laughed. Do you even hear yourself? You stole something that wasn't yours, that you didn't earn, that Grandpa gave to me, not to the family, not to the situation, to me. He stayed quiet. You looked me in the eye on Thanksgiving, I said, voice shaking now, and told me it was still mine, like it was no big deal, like I wouldn't notice, like I didn't matter. He finally said, I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did, I replied, and there it was. No yelling, no fighting. Just that truth between us, hanging heavy like smoke. He offered to pay me back, said he could do installments, said he talked to the buyers and maybe there was a clause for reversal. I shook my head. This isn't about money, I said. It's about the fact that I trusted you. And now I can't. I stood up, took the folder back. I'm not suing you, but I'm not coming back either. Not for Christmas. Not for birthdays. Not until you understand that I was more than just your backup plan. And I walked out. He didn't follow me. Not then. Not later. Not even now. It's been 7 months since that day. I haven't heard from him. My mom sent a message once, said I was being dramatic, that family makes mistakes. I didn't reply, because I'm tired of being the one who smooths things over, who lets betrayal slide in the name of peace. The land is gone. I'll probably never get it back. They're halfway through building the storage units now. I drove by once and saw them laying concrete. I didn't cry. I didn't feel anything. Because the real thing I lost wasn't property. It was the last piece of belief I had in my father. Sometimes I wonder what he tells himself at night. Maybe that he did what he had to do. Maybe that I'll come around. Maybe that he didn't mean it. But intention doesn't erase action, and silence doesn't rebuild trust. So if you're watching this and you've been lied to by someone who was supposed to protect you, I hope you know. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. You're not ungrateful. Some betrayals are so quiet they don't even make a sound when they break you. But they still leave scars. And some scars, you don't cover them up. You keep them visible, so you don't forget. So you remember exactly how much it cost to finally choose yourself. Because sometimes the deepest cut isn't what they did, it's realizing they knew they were doing it, and they did it anyway.